Chris Shandeck, CYInterview, covering Las Vegas and the world. If you haven't already, please hit the like button below and please hit the subscribe button below to keep up with everything we have going on here at CYInterview in Las Vegas and beyond. We greatly appreciate it. Though we have finished our road to WrestleMania, with today being day one of WrestleMania here in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders, we now are going to at least give you one more bonus round. Go back and look at all those past CYInterviews with pro wrestlers we had yesterday. We released Rey Mysterio Jr. Today we're going to release a past CYInterview with Paul Heyman, of course, the visionary behind ECW. He's on the card today as a manager, still working, of course, with the WWE. Here is our 2004 conversation with Paul Heyman.
I'd like to welcome my guest this time, the creator of ECW, the man who made it all happen, Paul Heyman. How are you doing today, my friend?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good. How happy are you with the Rise and Fall ECW DVD as a full, complete product that the WWE put together?
Oh, I mean, I'm as happy as I possibly could be with it. I had pretty low expectations going in. Bluntly, I didn't expect them to pull something off this complete and this accurate. And I had my doubts going in that they were going to represent ECW in the light that I thought would have been appropriate, and I would say I'm more than pleasantly surprised by it, because I find it to be, as of now, the most accurate portrayal of what ECW was and what happened to us along the way.
It has been well known that you put a lot of your own money into ECW. What was the main reason that you took a lot of your own money to keep this company going as long as it did?
Because I believed in it, I loved it, I lived it, and I have absolutely no regrets regarding it.
What was the main reason you closed the promotion's doors besides financially, if any others?
That was the only reason. We had no network home. The pay-per-view industry, in demand in particular, and an executive at the time by the name of Dan York made the assessment that without ECW on a network, we could not sustain ourselves, we could not stay alive, and that giving us the money that was coming in from pay-per-view would have been a bad business move on their part, that they could negotiate, which they did, the amount owed down with the bankruptcy court, which they did. And so, based on the fact that we had no network home, therefore no way to promote our licenses, no way to promote our shows, and coupled with the fact that we couldn't get our money out of the pay-per-view company, which was several $1 million, now you have no revenue stream and you have no platform, you're out of business.
Yeah. What do you think your relationship with the WWE and WCW was like when you were told that they wanted to sign one of your talents?
Well, it depends on which talent it was and how they went about it. WCW used to go about it by offering huge signing bonuses to our talent if they kept it under wraps and did what was called back then a jump. WWE was more upfront with me, and if there was a talent from our organization that was looking to go there, or if they were looking to talk to talent, which didn't guarantee them that the talent would go to them, then they were very open and above board about it, and they called me up and said, we're interested in this guy, or this guy's interested in us, and we want you to know that there's going to be a conversation. My relationship with both organizations was really different, because I resented the way that WCW did it, and understood that WWE had the attitude of business is business, and we're going to take what we think would benefit our company the most if we can take it from you.
In a short summary, how important do you think the ECW very legal pay-per-view was to the company getting its name known and established, and where do you think ECW would have gone if that pay-per-view didn't do well?
I think if the pay-per-view didn't do well, we were out of business immediately. There was nothing left. There was nobody that would have done business with us after that. There was no way to have procured a license. There was no network that would have talked to us. The talent would have lost faith and lost hope. I think the carrot dangled in front of all of us was that we knew that if we got on pay-per-view, we could do blow-away shows that no one else could compete with in terms of style and in terms of appealing to so many different demographics, that we knew that if we got on pay-per-view, we would be a success. Without that success, nobody would have stayed. It wouldn't have been worth anybody's while. In terms of being accepted, in the business community, again, there would never have been a license after Barely Legal if it had been a flop. It just nothing would have happened. From there, it would have been, well, this was the little train, that could but couldn't, and instead, we showed, wow, they really could.
Do you think that TNN didn't do a good job of trying to help promote the ECW TV show, and that really hurt the company at the end?
It's not only do I think it, I know it. TNN is the main reason for the chain of events that led to the demise of ECW. We went on CBS Cable, which was then known as the Nashville Network, and was changing to the National Network. Mm-hmm. What a brilliant marketing plan that was. And we were supposed to have all these synergistic opportunities. We were supposed to be promoted throughout Infinity Broadcasting, because it was all owned, by CBS. We were supposed to be promoted by Infinity Broadcasting. We were supposed to have commercials that ran throughout TNN. We were supposed to have press releases to every city that we went to, that the local cable affiliates would have spots that they would run, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And instead, what happened was we went on a network, and our lead-in show did between a 0.3 and a 0.6. We always did, anywhere between a 1.2 and a 1.5, and sometimes we fell down to a 0.9.
Yeah.
But that's when our lead-in was doing a 0.2. And in the meantime, we were by far the highest-rated show on the network. We were blowing away anything that they had, and we were in a horrible time slot on Friday nights, which I have no complaints about because I agreed to it. The problem is that moments after we signed to go on TNN, they were in negotiations with WWE, and they cannibalized us. They never sent out a press release. They never ran our commercials. They never helped us with all these synergistic opportunities, which is why we went on the network to begin with, and increased our expenses 100-fold by going on that network. And what happened was that it just ate us up alive. I mean, I think the best two stories I can tell is we had a deal to go to Japan at the end of December, and they insisted that we run a show in their hometown of Nashville for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
So we booked Nashville, Tennessee, and we are expecting press releases and local affiliates and radio spots and interviews and newspaper talk, and they did
nothing.
Not one thing for us going into Nashville. And then on the flip side, you'd watch the TV show, and within the editorial content, within the body, not the editorial content, but within the body of our own television show, you see ads saying, "Don't miss CCW on TNN." Well, they're watching it. So I'd call up Brian Hughes, who was the executive vice president of TNN at the time, and I'd say, "Hey, Brian, thanks for the advertisement. It's really wonderful, but could we air it somewhere else besides our own show? Because we already have these viewers." And his answer was, "Well, isn't that the target demographic?"
Yeah.
So right there we had our answer. As soon as they put us on, we were the guinea pig to see if wrestling could hold on TNN, to see if they wanted to invest $26 million in WWE, as TNN was being absorbed by Viacom, and we got cannibalized for it, and it ended up starting off the chain of events that led to the death of the company.
In a short answer, how influential was Terry Funk on the company in elevating guys?
We would not have had an ECW without Terry Funk. He made everybody on our roster.
What are your thoughts on the night Shane Douglas threw down the NWA Championship, and how did it become a turning point in the company?
Well, I mean, my thoughts was that we did the right thing. It was something that we were very specific in doing, because we wanted to make a statement that everything that had been written in wrestling before that day was considered the Old Testament, and we were going to write the New Testament.
There has been much talk that WWE might start up an ECW brand or promotion under their company. Do you think there is any possibility or truth to that at all?
I certainly hope not, because I don't think it would succeed. I mean, could we do it as a one-time thing, or once in a while thing? Yeah, I think people would be very, very interested to see a 2004, 2005 version of an ECW show. But to do ECW now as a promotion, certainly under the auspices of being corporately owned would never work, because that's not what ECW was about.
Yeah.
And if it were to be attempted, it would prostitute what the brand truly was.
You have been on and off as a booker and part of creative for WWE. Tell me what you have learned about working with other people as part of WWE creative in all.
Well, I mean, it depends on who we're speaking about. You know, I mean, I try to learn from anybody. I mean, I used to get ideas in ECW from members of the ring crew. I used to get it from fans. I used to get it from the guy at the local deli. I mean, if you pay attention to the theory behind what people are suggesting, you can learn an awful lot about their perspective of what wrestling is, or could be, or should be. So I mean, I've learned from everybody that I've worked with at WWE, because if someone cares enough to throw out an idea, I care enough to listen to what's behind the idea.
Obviously so. Now tell me a story, if you remember this, when you were on the road with Dutch Mantel in the past, and he thought you were driving too fast with The Undertaker on the Carswell. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, it was 1990 in WCW.
Mm-hmm. And he seriously was he was seriously raged, and he thought that it wasn't funny the way that you were driving so fast, because you guys had to make a town in a certain amount of hours, and you guys are already behind schedule. Do you remember anything else about that?
Yeah, we left Chicago. We had a point in between Chicago and Cincinnati, and that was the town, and we thought it was a nighttime show, and we got in the car saying, we'll stop off, we'll get something to eat, we'll take a leisurely drive, and it was like a 250-mile drive. And then we looked at the sheet. What a surprise. We looked at the sheet, and it was a 2 o'clock show, and it was already 12:05 in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And The Undertaker, who was known as Mean Mark back then, said, well, I guess we ought to just phone in and let him know we're going to be late. And I just put on my seatbelt and turned to Dutch, and I said, well, at least one thing, we'll get there by the opening bell. And I put both feet on the gas pedal and just steered the car.
There are many guys who I've interviewed in the past who have told me that you didn't pay them what you promised in a full amount. Now tell me, is any of this true at all?
Well, it depends on what you mean by that. I mean, me personally, that's like saying, if the WWE closed its doors today, does Vince McMahon owe anybody any money personally? I don't think he does. I think the corporation does. I ran a corporation. Corporation went out of business. There are a lot of people that didn't get paid at the end of the corporation. That's a blunt fact. Mm-hmm. Neither did I, though. It's not like I was hoarding all the cash and saying, well, I'm sorry, I had a wonderful week, but yours is surely the shits.
Well, you went into bankruptcy, so we know that.
Right. I mean, I filed for personal bankruptcy. It's not like I have hidden assets in the Cayman Islands or anything. I didn't pay myself for 7 years. I didn't feel it right to take money out of the company for 7 years when the money could be reinvested in the company. And certainly when other people weren't being paid, I wasn't going to be paid. I didn't give myself a paycheck and say to somebody else, hey, I'm sorry you didn't get paid.
Okay,
if you didn't get paid, neither did I. And then nobody lost more money than I did, and nobody was deprived of more funds than I was. And nobody took a better beating than I did in terms of finances in ECW. So, I'm sorry that certain people didn't get paid or didn't get paid what they were hoping for, didn't get paid what they were promised, but the company went out of business. Where is the money going to come from?
In short, what talents do you think that were good that never got a shot at WWE or WCW?
That were in ECW?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you consider a shot. I mean, Public Enemy went to WCW, but I don't know if they were ever directed right, written for right, or produced right. So could they have been big stars? I think so. I don't know so, but I don't know. I don't think Rob Van Dam has gotten his fair shake in WWE. Mm-hmm. I wish several of the cruiserweights that we had were more spotlighted and more focused on, both in WCW and WWE. It's a case by case scenario. Just by way of example, I think Raven could have been a huge star in this industry. I just don't know if that character worked outside of the ECW environment. So it's tough to say. Some characters were tailor-made for the ECW environment, and their characters wouldn't have worked as well elsewhere.
Yeah.
And some characters just weren't given the chance.
Finally, where do you think the future of WWE is going, as the business is not at its high point right now?
Well, I think there comes a time where an assessment needs to be made. If WWE just wants to stay afloat, which they obviously do. I mean, it's now a fourth generation family business, and with Shane's son being born, it's now a fifth generation family business. And I think what has to happen is, like with all other changing times, much like any other industry, the industry needs to change. You know, I mean, just look at the television industry today, in the revolution that's going on in advertising. Not just the fact that cable television is taking so much business away from broadcast, but now with the advent of TiVo, you're going to see more integrated advertising instead of more 30-second commercials, because everybody's fast-forwarding through the commercials. And in the same way, the wrestling business needs to accept change and adapt to that change. And we need to find a style that's more contemporary with today's audience. And we're going to have to address that a couple of years from now as the style that we implement today becomes passé again. And we need even a new style and a different style 3-4 years from now to attract that audience.
Thank you very much for your time today, Paul Heyman, the man behind the creative ECW. I look forward to talking to you again in the near future, and thank you very much for all of your honesty.